Imagine you're sitting quietly at the end of a long day. The sun is setting, the world is slowing down, but your mind is not. Someone's harsh word from earlier still echo in your head. A family member, a friend, maybe even a stranger. It hurt, and no matter how much you try to brush it off, it lingers like a shadow. You smile on the outside, but deep inside, it stings. Now ask yourself, why does it hurt so much? Why do the words or actions of others hold so much power over our peace? And what if you could stop that pain, not by fighting back, not by escaping, but by understanding it in a different way? What if Buddhism had an answer, not just a belief, but a way of living that could help you feel calm again? Have you ever noticed how the small moments of hurt from people you care about stay with you far longer than they should? A passing comment, a cold silence, a disappointed look. We carry those moments for days, weeks, sometimes even years. Why is that? And more importantly, is there a way out of that trap without changing the other person? Let's look at a simple example. Imagine someone steps on your foot by accident. It hurts. You pull your foot away, maybe even wince. But if they say, "I'm sorry," your pain lessens. If they don't notice or don't care, the pain suddenly feels sharper, heavier. The difference is not the pain itself, it's how we feel about it. And that's the starting point of what we're going to talk about in this video. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we explore the timeless teachings of Buddhism and how they still guide us through modern pain. This video is for those who have been hurt, who feel tired of holding on to invisible wounds, and who are ready to explore a peaceful way forward. There's so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So please, if you find this message valuable, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It helps more than you know. And please, drop your thoughts in the comments. Your words might just help someone else feel seen. In this video, we will begin a journey together. A journey to understand why hurt stays with us, and how Buddhist wisdom helps us not just heal from it, but grow because of it. Buddhism doesn't ask you to believe blindly. It asks you to observe, to feel, and to gently change how you respond. And for that, we begin right here, with awareness and with a simple truth. Pain is real, but so is peace. The roots of suffering, why people hurt us. You may have found yourself asking, why do people hurt us? What causes them to say things that break our hearts, or act in ways that shake us to our core? These questions are natural. After all, if people are supposed to care about us, why do their actions sometimes feel so harsh, so cutting? It's a question that has troubled many of us for as long as we can remember. And yet, if we look closely, we might find that the answer isn't as simple as we might hope. The truth is, every person has their own inner world. We all carry our own struggles, frustrations, and wounds. Sometimes, these things are invisible to the people around us, but they affect the way we interact with others. When someone hurts us, it's not always because they want it. It could be because they're carrying their own burdens, their own unresolved pain. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever been upset with someone, maybe even lashed out, and later realized that it wasn't truly about them? Maybe you were stressed, tired, or carrying an emotion that you didn't know how to process. That's how we all are at times. We hurt others not because we wish to, but because we are overwhelmed by our own pain. We project that pain outward, and the result is often a cycle of hurt. It's a painful cycle for both us and them. Buddhism teaches us that suffering is a natural part of life. It's a fact of human existence. The Buddha himself saw suffering in all forms: sickness, old age, and death. But more importantly, he observed that the suffering we experience is often the result of our attachments and our desires. We want things to be a certain way. We want people to act a certain way. When they don't meet our expectations, we feel disappointed, hurt, and sometimes even betrayed. But at the root of this suffering lies something deeper: our own expectations. Our attachments, the things we believe should be different. This idea of attachment is important. It's not just about things we own, but about the way we cling to ideas, to people, and to outcomes. We attach ourselves to the way we think things should be, and when reality doesn't align with that, we feel pain. That person who hurt us might not have even known they were doing it. Perhaps they were simply acting from their own attachments, their own frustrations, or their own fears. And when we respond with anger or hurt, we only continue the cycle. We feed the suffering with more suffering. Think of a time when someone hurt you. Now, think about how you responded. Did you react in anger? Did you try to make them feel bad for what they did? Or did you simply withdraw, holding the pain inside as a quiet reminder of how unfair it all felt? These responses are natural. We all have them, but they don't heal us. They only prolong the suffering. When we respond in anger, we add fuel to the fire. When we withdraw, we give power to the hurt, letting it fester within us. So, how do we break this cycle? How do we stop the hurt from controlling our lives? This is where Buddhist teachings offer something truly transformative. The Buddha taught that the first step in breaking the cycle of suffering is to understand its cause. We don't just react blindly to the pain we feel. We observe it, understand it, and then choose how we want to respond. One of the most powerful teachings of Buddhism is the idea of mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't just about being present in the moment. It's about becoming aware of our thoughts, our feelings, and our reactions without judgment. When we are hurt by someone, our instinct is often to react immediately. We want to defend ourselves. We want to lash out, or we want to retreat into ourselves. But mindfulness teaches us to pause before we react. It teaches us to observe the pain, to notice the emotions rising within us, and to ask ourselves, why am I feeling this way? By becoming aware of our emotions, we can begin to separate ourselves from them. We are not our anger. We are not our pain. We are the ones who feel those things, but they do not define us. This simple realization gives us the power to choose a different path. Instead of letting our emotions control us, we can take a step back and respond with awareness, with compassion, and with understanding. When someone hurts us, it's easy to feel like we are the victim. It's easy to blame the other person for the pain we feel. But Buddhism teaches us that the real source of suffering is not the actions of others, but our own attachment to how we think things should be. If we can let go of those expectations, if we can learn to accept people and situations as they are, with all their flaws and imperfections, we begin to free ourselves from the pain they cause. This doesn't mean we should tolerate harmful behavior. It doesn't mean we should allow others to hurt us over and over again. Buddhism does not teach us to be passive or to ignore the needs of our hearts. Instead, it teaches us to act with wisdom. It teaches us to understand that our suffering is not caused by the person who hurt us, but by our attachment to how we want them to act. If we can change our perspective, if we can let go of the need to control how others behave, we can free ourselves from the pain that their actions cause. Let me give you an example. Imagine you are walking down a path and someone bumps into you. They don't apologize and they don't seem to care. You feel a surge of frustration, perhaps even anger. You want to turn around and yell at them, but then for a moment you pause. You ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Why is this simple interaction causing such a strong reaction in me? And in that pause, you realize that it's not about them. It's about the expectation you had that they should be polite, that they should recognize you, that they should care. In that moment of awareness, you let go of your attachment to how they should behave, and suddenly the anger begins to dissolve. You are no longer caught in the cycle of suffering. You are free. This is the power of understanding the root of suffering. It's not about changing the world around us. It's about changing how we respond to the world. When we let go of our attachments to outcomes, to people, to expectations, we free ourselves from the suffering that comes from those attachments. We don't need to change others in order to find peace. We just need to change ourselves. And that, my friends, is the most powerful transformation of all. As we move forward in this journey, we will explore how this understanding can help us heal, forgive, and ultimately live with more peace and compassion. But for now, reflect on this. The next time you feel hurt, take a moment to pause. Ask yourself, what am I attached to in this moment? When you begin to let go of those attachments, you begin to let go of the pain. And that, truly, is the first step toward freedom. Karma in reaction. the Buddhist law of cause and effect. In Buddhism, there's a powerful principle that governs the way we experience life. It's called karma. You've probably heard the word before, but it's important to understand it fully. Karma isn't just about rewards or punishments. It's the natural law of cause and effect. It's simple, but it can transform the way you see every single moment of your life. Imagine this. Every action you take, every word you speak, every thought you entertain, they all have an impact. Not just on others, but on you too. The way you respond to people, the way you treat them, the way you treat yourself. These are all seeds you're planting. Karma teaches us that every action creates an effect, but that effect isn't always immediate. Sometimes it takes time to manifest, like a tree growing from a seed. When someone hurts you, it might feel like you're the victim of a random act of cruelty, but the truth is, it's not so random. This doesn't mean that what they did was right or justified, but it does mean that there's something deeper at play. Every action, no matter how small, ripples outward into the world, and that ripple reaches you too. Sometimes the way someone treats us is a reflection of their own inner pain, their own unresolved issues. That's their karma, not yours. But how you respond, that's your karma. If you respond with anger, hatred, or revenge, you're only adding more negativity to the cycle. You're planting seeds that will sprout in the form of more pain, not just for them, but for you too. On the other hand, if you respond with understanding, patience, or compassion, you're planting seeds of peace. That doesn't mean you should allow people to hurt you. It means you're choosing not to let their actions define your inner peace. Buddha taught us that our response to suffering is where our power lies. It's not about trying to control others or changing them. It's about how we choose to respond. You see, karma doesn't just refer to actions. It also refers to your intentions and your reactions. And when we learn to shift our reactions, we begin to see how karma works for us, not just against us. It's not always easy. It's not always immediate. But the more we practice kindness, the more we will experience it. The more we choose peace over conflict, the more peaceful our world becomes. Now, imagine if you could approach every painful moment in your life with this understanding. Instead of reacting out of anger or frustration, what if you could pause and ask yourself, what is the right response here? In that moment, you would already be shifting the karma. You would be shifting your own path. In Buddhism, this is known as the practice of right action. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being a saint. It's simply about recognizing that every action you take has an effect, and that effect comes back to you in some way. This can be a difficult concept to embrace because when we are hurt, we want to protect ourselves, we want to fight back. And that's natural. But in Buddhism, there's an understanding that the way we defend ourselves can also be harmful. We don't have to be passive, but we can choose a different way to protect our peace. It's not about ignoring the hurt. It's about understanding that your reaction to it is just as important as the action that caused it. Think of the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree. He was tested by many temptations, but he did not fight them. He didn't lash out. Instead, he sat still, observing his thoughts and feelings. He didn't resist the pain or the distractions. He simply let them pass through him. He understood that pain, like everything else, is temporary. And in that stillness, he found peace. That's the power of karma. When we respond with mindfulness, when we let go of reacting from a place of fear or anger, we create space for wisdom to arise. One way to practice this is by reflecting on your own reactions. Have you ever noticed how, when you're in a heightened state of emotion, your response can often make a situation worse? You may say something you regret or act in a way that you don't truly mean. That's the power of unconscious reactions. But when you start to become aware of your emotions, and when you choose to pause before reacting, you begin to change the cycle. The key is an awareness. The Buddha spoke about mindfulness as a way of seeing the world clearly. In every situation, when you are mindful, you are able to see beyond the surface. You see the deeper layers of what is happening, and you can make choices from a place of understanding, not just automatic reaction. This practice isn't just about meditation. It's about bringing mindfulness into everyday life. It's about being aware of your thoughts, your feelings, and the way you engage with others. When you understand the law of karma, you begin to realize that the way others treat you is just one part of the equation. The other part is how you respond. And that's where your real power lies. You cannot always control what others do, but you can control how you react. And in that control, you'll find your freedom. It's not easy. It takes time and patience. But when you start to practice this, you'll see how your life begins to shift. You'll notice that people's actions no longer affect you in the same way. You'll begin to feel lighter, freer, because you no longer need to hold on to every wound. The moment you stop reacting with negativity, you start healing. And as you heal, you begin to radiate peace and compassion to others, creating a ripple effect of kindness in the world. So, the next time someone hurts you, try to remember this. Their karma is not yours to carry. But your response, that's yours. And in that response lies the power to transform not only your life, but the world around you. The choice is always in your hands. The power of non-reaction, finding freedom in stillness. Imagine you're walking down the street, and suddenly someone bumps into you. Maybe it's a careless accident, or maybe it's on purpose. You feel a sharp wave of anger rise up within you. Your first instinct is to react, isn't it? You want to shout something, to push back, to let them know that what they did wasn't right. In that moment, it feels like the only way to relieve the discomfort inside you is to react. But here's where the teaching of Buddhism begins to shift the way we experience this moment. What if you could choose not to react? Not out of fear, not out of indifference, but because you understand that reacting only fuels the fire of your own suffering. When someone bumps into you, that's an external event. But your response, your anger or hurt that comes from within, is your own mind that decides how to interpret the situation. And here lies the power of non-reaction, the ability to step back, to pause, and to not immediately feed into the emotions that are rushing at you. In Buddhism, this idea is known as the practice of upekkha, equanimity. It is the ability to maintain a calm and balanced mind, no matter what happens around you. Imagine a still pond, its surface completely smooth. No matter how many rocks are thrown into it, the pond remains undisturbed. The pond doesn't try to avoid the rocks or push them away. It simply remains still. This is the essence of non-reaction, not to avoid, but to accept and respond with balance. Now, I know this may sound difficult, especially in moments of intense emotion. It's natural to feel angry, sad, or hurt when someone does something that affects us. These emotions are valid, but reacting to them, acting out in the moment, often leads to more suffering, not less. When you shout back, when you allow your anger to take control, you're creating more turmoil in your own mind. You're giving away your peace to someone else, letting their actions dictate how you feel. Let's pause for a moment and consider the simplicity of mindful awareness. When someone hurts you, instead of immediately reacting, take a breath. Observe your feelings. Notice where the tension is building in your body. Is your chest tightening? Are your fists clenching? Are your thoughts running wild? These are all signs that your mind is reacting. Now, instead of acting on those impulses, you can practice stillness. You can simply observe the emotions without getting swept away by them. Think about this. Every time you react from anger or fear or frustration, you are essentially letting go of your power. You give the other person the control over how you feel. But by choosing non-reaction, you hold on to your power. You choose not to let their actions shape your inner world. This doesn't mean you ignore the situation. It doesn't mean you tolerate mistreatment. It simply means that you're not allowing the emotional turbulence to control you. This practice of non-reaction doesn't require any special skills or deep meditation. It's about making a conscious choice in the moment to step back from the impulse to react. It's about slowing down and understanding that your response is just as important as the event itself. Every time you choose not to react in anger, you're training your mind. You're strengthening your ability to face the challenges of life with more wisdom and clarity. You see, Buddhism doesn't teach us to avoid emotions or push them away. In fact, It acknowledges that suffering and pain are a natural part of life. What Buddhism offers us is a different way of dealing with it. Instead of reacting, we can learn to respond from a place of awareness. This might mean choosing to stay silent when someone criticizes you or walking away from an argument when you feel yourself losing control. The key here is that you remain in control of yourself. Let's return to that moment on the street when someone bumps into you. What would happen if, instead of reacting with anger, you simply observed your emotions and then chose a more peaceful response? Maybe you would say, "Excuse me, are you okay?" Instead of getting angry, you would express kindness. You would show empathy, and in that simple moment, you would feel a sense of freedom, because you didn't let someone else's actions decide how you would feel. You didn't allow their negativity to disturb your peace. This is the true power of non-reaction. It's freedom. It's the freedom to remain centered in the midst of chaos. It's the freedom to face adversity without losing your sense of self. And when you practice this, something extraordinary begins to happen. The more you practice non-reaction, the less the external world has control over your inner peace. You start to realize that your peace doesn't depend on the behavior of others, but on your ability to choose your response. Now, you might be wondering, is it really possible to stay calm all the time? The answer is no, at least not all the time. We are human, and there will be moments when emotions run high. But what Buddhism teaches is not perfection. It teaches us the ability to notice when we've reacted and then gently bring ourselves back to center. It's a lifelong practice, and every small step counts. Each time you resist the urge to react, you're creating a new habit. You're rewiring your brain to respond more wisely, more compassionately. One of the most profound teachings of the Buddha is that suffering is not caused by the events of life, but by our attachment to them. When we react to situations with anger or fear, we become attached to the idea that we should be treated differently, that people should act a certain way. But the world doesn't operate according to our preferences. People are unpredictable, situations are unpredictable, and life is full of challenges. If we attach ourselves to the expectation that things should always go our way, we will always suffer. By practicing non-reaction, we loosen the grip of attachment. We stop holding on to the belief that we are entitled to a world free from hurt or disappointment. We begin to accept life as it is, with all its imperfections. And in this acceptance, we find peace. So, how can you begin to practice non-reaction in your own life? Start small. Notice those moments when you feel triggered, when your mind is starting to race, when your body is gearing up for a reaction. Take a breath. Count to 3. Observe your emotions without judgment. Then, choose your response with awareness. It could be a smile, a calm word, or simply a pause. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. And eventually, you'll realize that your peace is not dependent on the behavior of others. It's something you can cultivate within yourself. It's something you can protect, and no one else can take it away. Non-reaction isn't about passivity. It's not about being a doormat or letting people walk all over you. It's about choosing to act with wisdom rather than with impulse. It's about staying connected to your true self, even in the midst of chaos. This is the power of non-reaction. It's not an easy path, but it's a powerful one, and it's a path that leads to freedom. The freedom to be at peace, no matter what the world throws at you. Mindfulness over pain, the middle way response. In life, pain is inevitable. Whether it's the sting of a harsh word, the weight of a broken relationship, or the deep sorrow of a personal loss, we all experience moments that challenge our peace. It is a part of being human. But here's a question. What if pain didn't have to lead to suffering? What if there was a way to face the hurt, to feel it deeply, and still find a sense of calm in the midst of it all? This is where mindfulness, and specifically the middle way of Buddhism, offers us a path. Mindfulness is the art of paying attention, without judgment, to the present moment. It's about being fully aware of what is happening in your mind and body, without rushing to push away the discomfort or holding on to it. Think about it for a moment. How often do we find ourselves caught in the web of our emotions, replaying the hurt over and over? Maybe you've had a tough conversation, And instead of letting go, your mind keeps circling back to it. You think about what was said, how it was said, why it was said, over and over. That's suffering. But mindfulness teaches us that we have a choice in how we relate to our pain. Buddha's middle way is about balance. It's not about extreme responses, whether we run away from the pain or let it consume us. Instead, it's about acknowledging the pain and not allowing it to control us. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to sit with our feelings without letting them overwhelm us. It's like sitting in the middle of a storm, knowing that you don't have to be tossed around by the winds. You can be still, even in chaos. Imagine you're sitting in a room, and someone you care about says something that stings. You feel a rush of anger. You want to react, to defend yourself, to let them know how much they've hurt you. But instead of reacting immediately, you pause. You take a deep breath. You notice the sensations in your body, the tightness in your chest, the clenching of your fists. You feel the heat rising in your cheeks. This is mindfulness. You're simply noticing what is happening within you. And because you're aware of it, you can choose how to respond. This is the first step. You don't need to act on your immediate feelings. You don't need to lash out or even shut down. You simply observe. The next step is allowing those feelings to come and go without attaching to them. When we are hurt, we often believe that the pain will last forever, but feelings are like clouds in the sky. They pass. If you can allow the feeling of hurt to simply be without clinging to it, you begin to notice that the storm starts to calm. The anger subsides. The sadness softens. Mindfulness helps us see that our reactions don't have to define us. It shows us that, even in our deepest hurts, we have the power to choose a response. And this is where the true strength of the middle way lies. It is not about suppressing your feelings or pretending everything is fine. It is about accepting what is and finding peace in the acceptance. In Buddhist philosophy, there is a concept called dukkha, which refers to suffering or dissatisfaction. But dukkha is not just about pain in the physical sense. It includes the mental and emotional struggles we face daily. The things we cling to, the attachments that bind us, all lead to dukkha. When we hold on to our anger, our resentment, our desire for revenge, we are feeding the cycle of suffering. The middle way, through mindfulness, teaches us to break that cycle. But this is not an easy practice. It takes time, it takes patience, and most of all, it requires a willingness to face our pain, not avoid it. Mindfulness does not tell us to disregard our emotions. Instead, it teaches us to observe them without judgment. You don't have to like the pain. You don't have to agree with what has happened. But you can acknowledge it, understand it, and then let it go. And when you do this, something remarkable happens. You begin to find your center. You begin to understand that your peace does not depend on the actions of others. It depends on how you choose to respond to them. When you practice mindfulness, you begin to let go of the need to control every situation, every interaction. You realize that your peace is in your hands, not theirs. This doesn't mean that you will never feel pain again. It doesn't mean that people will stop saying hurtful things. It doesn't mean that life will always be easy. But it does mean that you can face these challenges with a different mindset. Instead of being swept away by the tide of anger or sadness, you stand firm. You breathe, you observe, and you choose how to respond. This is the transformative power of mindfulness. It allows us to break free from the cycle of suffering and to find peace in the midst of pain. It helps us live with greater awareness and compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves. In every moment, we have the opportunity to choose our response. And through mindfulness, we can always choose the path of peace. When we learn to face our pain with mindfulness, we also learn to face the world with greater kindness and understanding. We no longer react out of fear or anger, but instead, we respond from a place of calm and clarity. This is the true essence of the middle way: balance, peace, and harmony in all things. So the next time you are hurt by someone's words or actions, remember, you don't have to react. You don't have to carry the weight of that pain. You can breathe. You can pause. And in that pause, you'll find the freedom to choose a new way of being. You can respond with kindness, with compassion, and with the quiet strength that comes from understanding the nature of your emotions. Through mindfulness, we not only heal ourselves, but we also begin to heal the world around us. Because when we choose peace over anger, understanding over judgment, we create a ripple effect that spreads out into every part of our lives. And in this way, mindfulness becomes not just a practice, but a way of living, one that leads us toward greater peace, no matter what life throws our way. Compassion without weakness. Buddhist forgiveness explained. When someone hurts us, there's an immediate impulse to protect ourselves. Our instincts tell us to fight back, to defend our honor, or to make the other person feel the same pain we're experiencing. It's human nature. We want to protect our hearts, to shield ourselves from being hurt again. But what if I told you that the way to truly protect your heart, the way to find peace amidst the pain, is to forgive? Not for the other person, but for you. Forgiveness, according to Buddhism, is not about excusing someone's behavior or pretending that the hurt didn't happen. It's not about forgetting the pain or giving someone a free pass to keep hurting you. Forgiveness is about releasing the hold that the pain has over you. It's about setting yourself free from the chains of anger, resentment, and bitterness. And in doing so, you make room for peace and love to enter your heart once more. It's important to understand that forgiveness in Buddhism is not weakness. It's not a sign that you're letting someone walk all over you or that you're soft-hearted. In fact, true forgiveness takes great strength. It's easy to hold on to anger and bitterness. It takes courage to let go. It's easy to seek revenge to return the hurt, but it takes a deeper understanding to break the cycle of pain by choosing compassion instead. Think about it for a moment. When you hold on to anger, when you keep replaying that hurt over and over in your mind, what does it do to you? It doesn't affect the person who hurt you. They may have forgotten about it already, or they may not even know the pain they've caused. But you're the one carrying it. You're the one who feels it every time you think about it. And every time you let that anger or resentment rise again, you're only hurting yourself. It's like holding on to a hot coal, hoping the other person will feel the burn. Buddha once said, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. That simple yet profound statement speaks volumes. When you hold on to your hurt, it's like drinking poison. It doesn't hurt the other person, it hurts you. It poisons your peace, your happiness, your well-being. But when you forgive, when you release the anger and the hurt, you're letting go of that poison. You're freeing yourself from the chains of negativity that bind you to the past. Now, this doesn't mean that you should forgive in a way that allows people to continue harming you. Forgiveness doesn't mean you put yourself in situations where you will be hurt again and again. It doesn't mean you have to stay in relationships that are toxic or abusive. Forgiveness is about releasing the emotional burden. It's about accepting that people make mistakes, that they may have acted out of ignorance, fear, or their own pain. But it's also about knowing that their actions don't define you, and their behavior doesn't have to control your emotional state. This idea of forgiveness may seem difficult, especially when the hurt is deep. Maybe it's a betrayal from someone you loved, or a harsh comment from someone whose opinion matters to you. The deeper the pain, the harder it feels to let go. But Buddhism teaches us that forgiveness is a gift to ourselves. It's a practice of compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves. In fact, you can't truly practice compassion for others until you first extend it to yourself. Forgiving yourself is just as important as forgiving others. Often, we hold on to guilt or shame for things we've done in the past. Maybe we've hurt others. Maybe we've made mistakes we can't seem to move past. But to live fully in the present, we must forgive ourselves as well. We must release the burden of past mistakes and understand that we are human, imperfect, and deserving of compassion, just as much as anyone else. When you forgive, you begin to heal. You stop reliving the past pain, and you stop letting it control your emotions and your actions. Instead, you create space for something much more powerful: love. Compassion doesn't just mean feeling sorry for someone who is suffering. It means understanding that all beings are connected, that we are all part of the same human experience. It means recognizing that the person who hurt you is also suffering in their own way. even if they don't show it. They too are struggling with their own pain, their own fears, and their own imperfections. In Buddhism, there's a concept called metta, which means loving kindness. This practice involves sending out feelings of goodwill and compassion to all beings, including those who have hurt us. It's not about excusing their behavior, but about wishing them peace, freedom from suffering, and happiness. When we practice metta, we learn to see beyond the actions that caused us pain. We see the person's humanity, their suffering, and we realize that they, too, deserve compassion. And in doing so, we free ourselves from the weight of hatred and anger. This doesn't mean that you have to be close to the person who hurt you, or that you have to allow them back into your life. Forgiveness in Buddhism is about releasing the emotional hold, not about re-establishing a relationship. You can forgive someone without inviting them back into your personal space. It's about finding peace in your own heart, regardless of how the other person behaves. In Buddhist practice, we are encouraged to see the world through the eyes of compassion, to understand that every person we meet is carrying their own burden, their own struggles. Sometimes people lash out because they are hurting. Sometimes they act out of fear or insecurity. When we can see the world from this perspective, it becomes easier to forgive. We realize that their actions are not about us, but about their own internal struggles. True forgiveness is an act of self-liberation. It allows you to stop being a prisoner of your own hurt. You no longer give the person who wronged you the power to control your emotions, your happiness, or your peace. You take back that power and choose to fill your heart with compassion and understanding instead of anger and resentment. And in doing so, you transform the pain into wisdom. You grow stronger, more resilient, and more compassionate. The next time someone hurts you, remember this: forgiveness is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. It takes strength to let go of the pain and to choose compassion instead. It takes strength to free yourself from the chains of anger and resentment. And it takes strength to look beyond the hurt and see the person who hurt you as a fellow human being struggling in their own way. Forgiveness is not about forgetting the hurt or excusing the wrong. It's about setting yourself free. It's about choosing peace over pain, love over hate, and compassion over bitterness. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of peace and that you deserve to heal. And in doing so, you unlock the quiet strength within you that has always been there, waiting to help you rise above the pain. Detachment versus indifference. The subtle art of letting go. Imagine for a moment that you are holding a burning hot piece of coal in your hand. The heat is unbearable, but you refuse to let it go. You hold on tighter, thinking that you can manage the pain, that it will somehow pass if you just hold on long enough. But the longer you hold it, the more you suffer. The coal doesn't change. It's still burning, and it will continue to burn you until you make the choice to let go. This is what happens when we cling to our pain. The anger, the hurt, the resentment, it's like that burning coal. We often believe that if we hold on to it, we are somehow making the other person feel the weight of their actions. We think that by keeping the pain alive, we are in control, or we are protecting ourselves from future harm. But in reality, we are only harming ourselves. Buddhism teaches us that detachment is not about turning away from the world or from people. It's not about becoming cold or indifferent. Detachment is about not letting the things outside of us control our inner peace. It's about choosing not to hold on to the things that hurt us, not because we deny the hurt, but because we choose to live free from it. Detachment is about understanding that while we cannot always control what others do, we can control how we respond. Think about the times in your life when someone hurt you. How long did you carry that hurt? Days? Weeks? Years? Perhaps, even now, the memory still lingers, and every time you think about it, it brings a wave of pain. Why? Because we haven't yet learned how to let it go. We haven't learned how to detach ourselves from that moment in the past. But detachment doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending the hurt never happened. It simply means that we're no longer allowing that moment to define us, to take away our joy, or to control how we see ourselves and others. Detachment is freedom. freedom from the past, freedom from other people's actions, and most importantly, freedom from the prison we have built in our own minds. The key to detachment is understanding that everything in life is temporary. The person who hurt you, they are not permanent. The situation that caused you pain, it is not permanent. Your feelings of hurt, they're not permanent. Everything changes. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from attachment, from our deep desire to hold on to things, whether they are people, experiences, or emotions. The more we attach, the more we suffer. But the more we learn to let go, the more we experience peace. There's a beautiful story in Buddhism about a monk who was walking with his master. They came across a river, and there was a woman standing by the bank, unable to cross. The monk's master, without a word, simply picked her up and carried her across the river. The monk was shocked. In their tradition, monks were not supposed to touch women, but the master simply smiled and said, "I left her by the river, but you are still carrying her in your mind." This story teaches us an important lesson. We often hold on to things that we no longer need. We carry them with us for years, even though they have long since passed. The hurt from an old argument, the pain from a betrayal, the guilt over something that can never be undone, these are the things we often carry with us. And by holding on to them, we keep them alive, even though they're long gone. Detachment is not about indifference. It's not about ignoring the people who have hurt us or pretending that nothing matters. Instead, detachment is about choosing to stop letting the actions of others control our happiness. It's about recognizing that while we can't change the past, we can choose how to live in the present. It's about finding peace within ourselves, no matter what's happening around us. Indifference, on the other hand, is the absence of care. It's a coldness that arises from closing our hearts to the world. It's when we stop feeling because we're afraid of being hurt again. Indifference is a defense mechanism, a way to protect ourselves from further pain. But it comes at a cost. It leaves us numb, disconnected from our true feelings, and unable to experience the depth of life's joys. It builds walls around our hearts, making us unable to truly connect with others or even ourselves. Detachment is the opposite. It's about remaining open, feeling deeply, but not allowing the actions of others to overwhelm us. It's about setting boundaries that protect our peace without shutting ourselves off from the world. It's about recognizing that we are not controlled by the actions of others, and that our happiness does not depend on them. Let's take an example. Imagine you're at work, and a colleague criticizes you harshly. At that moment, it may hurt. You may feel angry, frustrated, or even upset. But detachment allows you to take a step back. You recognize the pain, but you don't let it control you. You don't let it affect the way you see yourself. You don't carry that hurt with you into the next moment. You acknowledge it, learn from it, and then you let it go. The beauty of detachment is that it allows us to experience life fully, without being controlled by our emotions. It allows us to feel deeply, but not be overwhelmed by our feelings. We can experience sadness without being consumed by it. We can experience joy without clinging to it. We can love others without becoming dependent on them for our happiness. In Buddhist practice, detachment is closely tied to mindfulness. Mindfulness is the art of being fully present in the moment, without judgment or attachment. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them. We become aware of when we're holding on to something, a thought, a feeling, a memory, and we choose to let it go. We learn that we don't have to carry everything with us. We don't have to hold on to every negative experience. We can choose peace. This doesn't mean we should suppress our feelings or pretend that hurt doesn't exist. No, it means that we should feel our feelings, acknowledge them, and then let them go. We should not let them define us or control us. We should learn to release them one by one so that we can move forward with lightness and freedom. Letting go is a process. It takes time. It's not always easy. But with each step we take, we move closer to the peace that Buddhism promises us. We learn to stop holding on to the past and to embrace the present. We learn that we don't need to hold on to pain in order to protect ourselves. We can let go and still be strong. Detachment, when practiced with wisdom and compassion, leads to true freedom. It leads to a life where we are no longer ruled by our emotions, where we can respond to life's challenges with calm and clarity. It leads to a life where we can love deeply, but without fear. It leads to a life where we can be at peace with ourselves, no matter what happens around us. In the end, detachment is not about avoiding pain. It's about not letting the pain define us. It's about learning to let go of the things that no longer serve us so that we can make room for peace, for love, and for the joy that life has to offer. It's about choosing to live with an open heart, free from the weight of the past, and full of the lightness of being present in each moment. Loving kindness meditation, transforming pain into peace. Let me take you to a place within yourself, a place where the world's hurt doesn't have to follow you. Imagine sitting down in a quiet room, maybe at dawn when everything feels still, or maybe just before bed when the rest of the world is already quieted down. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and for just a moment, allow yourself to pause. Now, think of someone who has hurt you. It could be someone close, someone distant, or maybe even someone you've never met. You might feel a sting just thinking about it. The anger, the sadness, the feeling of betrayal. It's real, isn't it? But in this moment, I want you to try something different. Instead of holding on to that anger, instead of letting that pain turn into resentment, I want you to send them kindness. It sounds strange, doesn't it? Sending kindness to someone who has hurt you. But this is where the true power lies. This is where peace begins. This is the essence of loving kindness meditation, or metta in Buddhism. It is a practice that invites you to send love, not to the people who love you, but to those who have caused you harm. And the strange thing about it is that it changes you, not them. When we hold on to anger or resentment, it's like holding a burning coal in our hand. The person who hurt us may have long forgotten the pain they caused, but we are still holding onto the fire, allowing it to burn us. Loving kindness meditation is about letting go of that coal. It's about freeing yourself from the hold of that hurt. At the beginning, you may feel resistance. It may feel unnatural or even impossible to wish well for someone who has wronged you. But as you continue with the practice, something begins to shift. You start to realize that sending kindness does not mean condoning their behavior. It doesn't mean you forget the hurt or excuse their actions. What it means is that you refuse to let that hurt control you anymore. Loving kindness meditation begins with yourself. You offer love to your own heart, to your own being, acknowledging that you too deserve peace, and then you slowly extend that love outward. You begin with someone you care about deeply, a loved one, someone who brings joy to your life. Imagine them sitting before you, and with a full heart, you wish them happiness, health, and peace. You don't need to say anything, simply feel those wishes. Let them settle into your heart. Then you move on. You think of someone neutral, perhaps a neighbor you've never really spoken to, or someone you cross paths with every day but don't know personally. You wish them the same peace, health, and happiness. It's a small step, but it shifts the energy inside you. Now, here comes the hardest part, thinking of someone who has hurt you. And not just thinking of them, but genuinely wishing them well. At first, it may seem impossible. How can you wish happiness for someone who has caused you pain? But that's the beauty of the practice. It's not about them. It's about your own healing. When you can offer love to someone who has hurt you, you break free from the cycle of anger and bitterness. You realize that forgiveness is not something you do for them. It's something you do for yourself. As you offer your loving kindness, you begin to notice something remarkable. The pain you've carried for so long starts to fade. It's not that the memories disappear or the hurt goes away completely, but you start to feel lighter. The anger doesn't consume you. Instead, there's a quiet peace that begins to settle over you, like the calm after a storm. The more you practice, the more you realize that this practice is not just for the difficult people in your life. It's for you. It's about reclaiming your peace. You are the one who carries the weight of this world's hurt. You're the one who chooses to hold on to it, or you are the one who can choose to let it go. And with each meditation, with each wish of kindness, you are releasing that burden. The beauty of loving kindness meditation is that it is not about forcing yourself to forgive or to feel something you don't feel. It's about gently shifting your mindset, recognizing that holding on to pain does not serve you. It doesn't change the past. It doesn't make the hurt go away. But letting it go, sending kindness instead of anger, has the power to change your present moment. Now, let's go a bit deeper. As you continue with this practice, you may notice that your heart begins to soften. You start to feel a deeper connection with others, even those who haven't treated you kindly. You begin to understand that all of us, in some way, are just trying to navigate life. Some do it with more awareness, some with less. Some hurt others because they are hurt themselves. Some lash out because they feel small or insignificant. This realization doesn't excuse their actions, but it gives you a greater sense of compassion. You begin to see beyond the hurt. You begin to see the pain that they may be carrying, and in that space, it becomes easier to send them love. When we see the humanity in others, even in those who have wronged us, we begin to heal ourselves. Compassion flows not just from your heart to theirs, but from your heart to your own. And that is where true freedom lies. In letting go, in not letting someone else's actions dictate how you feel, in not allowing their behavior to have the final say on your peace. You become a master of your own emotional world, and you realize that you don't need anyone else to change in order to be happy. You have everything you need inside of you, and loving kindness meditation helps you tap into that. It's a gradual process. Some days will be harder than others, but each time you offer love, each time you wish someone well, you are changing the way you relate to the world. You are shifting your mindset from one of harm and defense to one of peace and openness. Over time, you will notice that the people who once caused you pain no longer have the same power over your emotions. They become like passing clouds in the sky. The storm may come, but it doesn't stay. You don't have to be the person who holds on to the hurt. Instead, you become the person who chooses to release it, moment by moment, breath by breath. In the end, loving kindness meditation is not just about transforming the way you see others. It's about transforming the way you see yourself. It's about realizing that you are worthy of peace, no matter what others have done to you. You are worthy of love, even when it feels hard to give. And by offering that love, not only do you heal others, but you heal yourself. This practice does not require perfection. It requires only the willingness to try, to wish for happiness and peace for others and for yourself. And in that act of kindness, you will discover a quiet strength within you, one that has always been there, waiting for you to embrace it. The Buddha's teachings on difficult people. As a Zen master, let me take you to a place where we can understand something truly profound about the way we approach those who hurt us. The Buddha, in his teachings, did not simply offer abstract ideas or philosophies to help us in times of difficulty. He gave us tools to manage the real-world struggles we face every day. One of the most challenging parts of life is dealing with difficult people, those who seem to show us nothing but pain, harshness, or indifference. We can all relate to the feeling of being hurt by someone we care about or someone we barely know. And often, we think, why are they like this? What have I done to deserve this? This question, why are they like this, is something that in Buddhist teachings, we are encouraged to examine carefully. It reflects the human tendency to point outward at others and look for reasons why they hurt us. But Buddha's wisdom tells us something different. The key to peace lies not in understanding why they hurt us, but in understanding why we react the way we do. You see, difficult people are often a mirror for our own unresolved issues, our inner weaknesses, and our reactions to the world. When someone acts in a way that causes us pain, we often feel angry, sad, or even helpless. We ask ourselves, how can someone treat me like this? What did I do to deserve this? And the Buddha tells us, you did nothing to deserve it, but your reaction is everything. In his teachings, Buddha spoke about the importance of not letting others disturb our peace. He compared it to someone throwing a stone at us. If we don't react to the stone, it simply falls to the ground. But if we pick it up, we hold on to it, and it becomes part of us. The stone represents hurt, and our reactions are the ways we hold on to it, making it heavier with each moment. So, when we encounter a difficult person, the Buddha asks us not to pick up the stone. He reminds us that the only reason the stone continues to harm us is because we allow it to. By holding on to anger, resentment, or frustration, we are prolonging the pain. In Buddhist practice, we learn the art of letting go, not of ignoring the pain or pretending it doesn't exist, but of releasing the hold it has over us. One of the Buddha's most powerful teachings is about compassion, even for those who hurt us. This is often misunderstood. Compassion does not mean we allow others to walk all over us or harm us repeatedly. It does not mean we condone bad behavior. Compassion means that we recognize the suffering of others, even those who hurt us. We see them not as enemies, but as individuals caught in their own struggles, just as we are. Buddha taught that all human beings are suffering, whether they show it or not, whether we see it or not. Everyone is struggling in their own way. When a person hurts you, it's often because they too are caught in the grip of their own pain, confusion, or ignorance. They may not even realize that their actions are causing harm. And when we understand this, we begin to see the situation through the lens of compassion instead of defensiveness. But how can we have compassion for someone who causes us pain? This is where the practice of mindfulness comes in. The next time someone hurts you, instead of reacting immediately with anger or frustration, take a moment. Close your eyes for a second. Breathe deeply and ask yourself, what is happening inside me? What am I feeling? Why is this moment triggering such a strong reaction? The Buddha's teachings on mindfulness invite us to become aware of our emotions without getting swept up in them. It's like watching a storm from a safe distance. You can see the storm, you can feel its power, but you are not caught up in its destruction. This is the power of mindfulness. It allows us to see the hurt caused by others without allowing it to consume us. It gives us the space to respond rather than react. Buddha also spoke about the importance of forgiveness, and this is where things get even more challenging. Forgiving a difficult person doesn't mean we forget the hurt or pretend it didn't happen. Forgiveness means we stop carrying the weight of anger and bitterness. We choose to release it for our own peace of mind. It is a gift we give ourselves, not the other person. Imagine, if you will, a cup filled with water. That cup represents your heart, your emotions. If you fill it with bitterness, anger, and resentment, it becomes heavy and eventually it overflows, spilling out in ways that harm you. But if you choose to forgive, you are emptying that cup, making room for peace, understanding, and compassion. This is the essence of what Buddha taught. Forgiveness is not for the person who hurt you. It's for the peace within yourself. But even more profound is this teaching. By practicing compassion, mindfulness, and forgiveness, we begin to transform ourselves. We are not changing the other person. We are not making their actions right. But we are changing how we experience those actions. And in that transformation, we free ourselves from the suffering that comes with holding on to anger and resentment. This is the deeper wisdom that the Buddha shared. We cannot control what others do, but we can control how we respond. We can choose to respond with compassion, understanding, and mindfulness, even in the face of difficulty. And in doing so, we not only create peace in our own hearts, but also become a source of peace for those around us. Buddha's teachings on difficult people encourage us to be strong, but not in the way we might initially think. Strength, in this sense, is not about confrontation or fighting back. True strength is about not allowing external forces to disturb the inner peace we've cultivated. It's about letting go of the need to control or change others and instead focusing on our own responses. When someone hurts you, instead of focusing on how they should change or how they should apologize, focus on how you can find peace within yourself. This is the path to true freedom. You don't need the other person to change in order to be happy. You don't need them to apologize for your peace to be restored. All you need is the courage to let go of your attachment to their actions. So, when you face a difficult person, instead of blaming them for your pain, ask yourself, what can I do to be free of this pain? The answer is not in changing them, but in changing your response to them. Buddha's teachings are not about avoiding pain. They are about learning to live with pain without letting it control us. They are about cultivating a heart that remains open, a mind that remains clear, and a spirit that remains unshaken, even in the face of life's most challenging people. Remember, it is not the people who hurt you that cause your suffering. It is your attachment to the hurt that keeps you trapped. The Buddha's wisdom teaches us that liberation comes not from changing the world around us, but from changing how we relate to it. And that, my friend, is the path to true peace. Transformation, turning hurt into wisdom and peace. We've walked a long path together. From the very first moment when we imagined how someone's hurtful actions could stay with us, to exploring how Buddhism offers a deep, peaceful way to let go of that pain, we've covered so much. And now, we come to the last step of this journey, transformation. What does it mean to transform pain into wisdom and peace? It sounds like a grand promise, doesn't it? But let me tell you, this is not just a distant dream. This is something that is available to each one of us right now. If you felt that sting of hurt before, you're not alone. We've all felt it. But if you're still holding on to that hurt, if it's weighing you down, then this final lesson is for you. Buddhism teaches us that pain is part of life. It doesn't matter where it comes from, a misunderstanding with a loved one, an angry outburst from a colleague, or an unexpected betrayal from someone you trusted. Hurt can be triggered in many ways, but the deeper question is, how do we react to that hurt? Do we let it shape who we are? Do we carry it with us, letting it color our interactions, our thoughts, our whole world? Or do we use it as a tool for growth? You see, in Buddhism, there's a beautiful concept called the alchemy of suffering. It's the idea that suffering, when understood deeply and allowed to be a part of us without clinging to it, can transform into something powerful. It can teach us things we would never have known otherwise. And that's where wisdom comes in. When you're hurt, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that the pain defines you, that it controls you. But if you choose to step back, to take a breath, to observe that hurt without judgment, something incredible happens. Instead of the pain owning you, you start to own the pain. You begin to see it as a teacher, not an enemy. This shift is where the transformation begins. You no longer need to react in the way you used to, with anger, resentment, or frustration. Instead, you respond with understanding, with compassion, with grace. That's where true peace is born. Think about this for a moment. Every time you are hurt, you have a choice. You can let that hurt define you, make you bitter, make you closed off to others. Or you can choose to be different. You can use that hurt as an opportunity to strengthen your inner peace, to test your ability to stay calm in the face of adversity. And over time, this practice becomes easier. You become stronger. You become more resilient. In Buddhism, the idea of letting go is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending the pain doesn't exist. It's about accepting it for what it is and allowing it to pass through you without holding on to it. Imagine that your hurt is like a cloud drifting across the sky. It may block out the sun for a moment, but eventually it moves on. The sun, your inner peace, is always there, waiting for the clouds to pass. And this brings us to the final part of our journey, forgiveness. Forgiveness, in the Buddhist sense, is not about excusing the other person's behavior or saying that what they did was okay. It's not about them at all, actually. It's about you. It's about releasing the hold that their actions have on your heart so that you can be free. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks the door to your peace. When we hold on to anger or resentment, we are in essence carrying a burden. We are choosing to keep that hurt close to us, even though it no longer serves us. But when we forgive, we are saying, I choose to be free. We are choosing to release that burden and to walk forward with lightness in our hearts. Now, I understand forgiveness is not always easy. There are moments when the pain feels too deep, too raw. But the beauty of forgiveness is that it doesn't happen all at once. It's a process. Sometimes it starts with just a tiny seed of willingness. A willingness to release the pain, to see the person who hurt you as a fellow human being, imperfect and struggling in their own way. Over time, that seed can grow into full forgiveness, and with it, a deep, lasting peace. As we reach the end of this journey together, I want to leave you with this thought. The pain you've experienced in your life does not define you. It is just a chapter in your story, not the entire book. You are so much more than the hurt you've carried. You are capable of turning that hurt into wisdom, into strength, and into peace. When you choose to stop reacting, when you choose to respond with mindfulness and compassion, you open yourself up to a world of possibilities. You stop being a victim of your circumstances, and instead, you become the creator of your own peace. It doesn't mean the world won't still hurt you at times. It will. But it does mean that no matter what happens, you will never lose your inner peace again. You will always have the strength to rise above it, to transform it, and to walk forward with grace. This is the essence of Buddhism, to live with awareness, to respond with compassion, and to always choose peace. And it is in this peace that true transformation happens. You don't need to wait for the world to change. You don't need to wait for the other person to apologize. All you need is the courage to change how you respond, how you see the pain, and how you choose to let it go. Remember, peace is not a place you go to. It is a way of being. It is a choice. And once you choose it, once you start to live from this place of deep understanding and acceptance, you'll realize that you never truly have to suffer the same way again. Hurt will come and go, but your peace, your wisdom, will remain with you, forever transforming your life from the inside out. Thank you for walking this path with me. I hope these teachings have helped you in some way, and I encourage you to continue exploring, to continue growing, and to continue living with an open heart. You are capable of extraordinary peace. Never forget that.